Welcome to the Boss Gambling Show on the internet. This is the home of the money pick. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Week 5 over-unders to bet. I look forward to getting into these totals. Let's get to the first game. Thursday night football. We got the Tampa Bay Bucks at the Atlanta Falcons. Over, under, 43.5 under, but I don't have a lot of confidence because I feel like this Falcons team is 1 or 2 penalties away from having a great game on offense. I'm also worried about the Falcons defense. I don't feel like they're aggressive enough, and I also don't feel like their run fits are good enough. But I'm going to go under here. I do think this game will be cagey, Thursday night type game. And I am very curious to see what Bucs offense we see. Some games they've been extremely impressive. Some games they've been lackluster. I'm going under the 43.5. Not a lot of science on this one. Next game, we got the New York Jets at my Minnesota Vikings. Over, under, 40.5. I want to bet it. I'm going to go over. I want to. I just don't want to go too deep into this game. I think the Jets are going to be competitive. I think this Jets defense will play good, but we're looking at a Vikings offense that's been a bottom line force of nature. I mean, you got 2 great tackles. You got Aaron Jones playing the best football I've seen him play in 3-4 years, and you have Sunshine Sam Darnold. You do wonder, can the Jets stop the run? If they don't, Minnesota's going to put up points. But I also feel like we're going to see a cagey game from Rodgers. Not cagey in terms of sloppy. We're going to see his back up against the wall, and I think we're going to see the best of him. Give me the over 40.5. Next game, we got the Carolina Panthers at the Chicago Bears. The Bears over, under, 42. Money. Money, make it a damn money pick. I'm going over. And I've been low on Caleb this year since the preseason, but I did see some encouraging signs last week, and we're looking at a Panthers defense. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, the 2 linebackers are hurt, out of the game. Shaq Thompson got hurt last week. 3 defensive tackles will miss this game, and we saw Swift get going last week, and I think the Bears will be able to run it, and that will open up things. On the other side, I like the Panthers offense to play well this game. We saw Leggett have an absolute monster game last week, and we have seen Andy Dalton and Chuba Hubbard get this offense going. I think this Bears defense is also overrated. I think you can run it on them, and I do want to mention Chuba Hubbard. He's been pretty damn good this year. I'm going over the 42, make it a damn money pick. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Next game, we got the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. Over, under, 48.5 under. I get it. You do think this game could turn into a shootout. You got Burrow versus Lamar. Look at Zay Flowers. Look at T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I get it. But division game and the Bengals season's on the line. And I used the word Alamo a lot this week. But really, this is the Bengals season on the line. I think they come in and fight. And I think this Bengals defense needs to respond. They were not good against the Panthers last week, and they really haven't been good this whole year. I also want to see this Ravens defense respond. They haven't hit the heights that they did last year. I think they do. I'm going under the 48.5. Next game, we got the Buffalo Bills at the Houston Texans. Over, under, 47.5. I'm going over. Man, this one was tough because this Texans offense has been a bit disappointing this year. A lot of penalties on the offensive line, a lot of lack of rhythm, and it just feels like they're bringing their C-plus game. And this Bills defense has overperformed this year. I give them credit, even with all the injuries. But I'm going over because at the end of the day, this is going to be Stroud versus Josh Allen. And both of these teams are explosive. And I also want to look at the player props on Stephon Diggs. I know I get it, like the ex-player playing his former team for the first time. It is a little bit played out. And I get trying to bet these three receivers on the Texans player props has been a hard task, but I think Diggs goes off this game. I'm going over the 47.5. Next game, we got the Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jags. Over under 46. Money, money, money. Money. Over. I like the over. Now, I am assuming I'm walking into this game assuming Joe Flacco's going to play. And we finally saw the Colts find full rhythm on offense. We got to give them credit. Like, I think Jonathan Taylor's going to miss the game, but I still think the Colts will have a bit of a running game. And we have a Jags defense. It's been an issue for 2 or 3 years. They'll put up 4 possessions of great defensive football, and they'll completely collapse the next 4. That's what you get with the Jags, but we also have to look at Trevor Lawrence. I felt like there was promising signs last week. They really had no business losing that game to the Texans. I think this Colts defense is trash, man. I really do. And I think the Jags can expose them here. I'm going over the 46. Make it a damn money pick. Next game, we got the Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots. Over, under, 36.5 under. But we don't know what we're going to see here. But both offenses have been a non-functioning entity. And that Patriots offense was extremely poor against the 49ers. There's no other way to phrase it. And we all witnessed that absolute card crash, that absolute just... It was one of the roughest offensive games you're going to watch from that Dolphins offense on Monday night. I'm going under. It's really low. You do think Mike McDaniel can respond. You do think another week of preparation for Snoop Huntley can improve. But, man, I won't bet on it, man. I can't even give you a lean on this. This Dolphins offense is so disappointing, man. Next game, we got the Cleveland Browns at the Washington No Names. Over, under, 43.5. Give me the under. It's tough, man, because this Browns defense is underperformed. Myles Garrett, we know he's got that foot Achilles injury. He hasn't looked himself this year, although he had a really nice sack against the Raiders last week. But I do think this will be a tight game, and I got it just barely going the under. And I talked to a Commanders fan I really respect this week, and, you know, I expected him to be jovial. I expected him to be beating his chest, but he's not loving the situation, even after the blowout against the Cardinals. I'm going under. I do want to know why he was unoptimistic. Next game, we got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos. Over, under, 36. I'm going with a surprise over. You know, it's tough to go over in any game when you got Gardner Minshew and you got Bo Nix, and we saw Bo Nix shot put a football. I haven't seen that. I haven't even seen a wide receiver shot put a football in the league on a reverse pass. But man, I'm going to go over with a sneaky over because I think this is a one possession game. And I do think we see some turnovers. I also think we're going to see the Raiders offense gel. And Brock Bowers has showed signs, but I love his matchup. You got the Broncos, you got Singleton hurt. He's very good in pass coverage, very good in the run game. I think the Raiders are able to move the ball here. And when you got Sean Payton and you have a Raiders team that makes a ton of mistakes, it's going to somehow push it towards over. I get why most of the money is going to be on the under, though, after watching Bo Nix. Next game, we got the Arizona Cardinals at the San Francisco 49ers. Over, under, 49.5, over. But can I ask you guys a question? Is Kyler Murray going to respond? Like, are we going to see something from Kyler Murray? Can we count on this Cardinals defense after that egg they laid against the Commanders? Like, credit to Jaden Daniels, but that was absolutely sickening. But I'm going over, man, because I've been using my thesis statement about this 49ers defense the whole year. I just think this defense is overrated. I'm worried about the defensive line outside of Bosa. Who's going to win battles? Who's going to get pressure? I mean, you got Bosa and Warner. Like, they might be the two best defensive players in this league. Like, I'm not making a claim. Warner probably is outside of Watt. But man, when I look at this game, and I think this is a game where Purdy goes off. Like, I think Purdy player props are the play here, my guys. I'm going over. Next game, we got the Green Bay Packers. Love at the Los Angeles Rams. Over, under, 48.5. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on this one is. But I'm going under. I think this is a game where we see the Packers defense respond. They just weren't good enough last week against Sunshine Sam Darnold. And we're looking at a Rams offensive line that is still banged up. And we don't know when they're getting Oat Bloom. We don't know when they're getting their other starters back. Maybe we see Nakua. Maybe we see Kupp this week. I wouldn't count on it. The injury situation for the Rams is bad, and this just seems like a spot for the Packers defense to take over. And like I said last week when I picked the Minnesota game, I told you guys, Love's not going to be full tilt after the injury, especially when you're facing Flores. Now he gets a Ram defense that is weak. But my point still stands. I think this game is about the Packers defense performing and finally living up to expectations. I've been kind of disappointed by them this year. I'm going under the 48.5. Next game, we got the New Orleans Saints at the Kansas City Chiefs. Over, under, 43.5. Money, money, money. Money. I love this one. I'm going over. Remember the old thing we used to say? When you say Chiefs, I say over. And it's looking grim for the Chiefs offense. Rashee Rice out. Hollywood Brown might play in the playoffs. He's going to be out. You got Pacheco out, who I think is maybe the most important piece on this offense besides Mahomes and Kelsey. You got a Saints defense that is playing good, but I still think Pat Mahomes will be able to move the ball. On the other side, I think the Saints will be able to run the ball. And I don't like when teams try to throw too much against this Chiefs defense. Like, I know you have to block Chris Jones in the run game, and I know that's very difficult, but I'm loving this Kubiak scheme. I'm loving the angles they're creating in the run block game. And I think the Saints team will be run first and then get to that bag of the play action game with Carr. I like this game. Like, I see like a 27-23 game. I'm going over, make it a damn money pick. Next game, we got the Dallas Cowboys, them boys, at the Pittsburgh Steelers over under 44. I'm going under. Now, this one is interesting because you got the Cowboys, season's on the line. Not on the line. I don't think this is do or die for them, but it's a big week, and you're playing a Steelers defense that was poor, especially the first half against the Colts. But I'm betting on that Steelers defense to respond. I'm also betting on this Cowboys offense to not be able to establish the run game. One thing that the Cowboys are missing for me, man, is that play action game. You run it down someone's throat, and I feel like Dak is very underrated when it comes to pushing the ball downfield with the play action game. And I got to tell you one thing that's concerning. Like, I went on Pro Football Talk today, and you see the Cowboys are not interested in Devontae Adams. And you just look at a guy like Brandon Cooks, and you got Ferguson at tight end, but is there enough to help CD Lamb if the run game doesn't get going? I'm going under for that reason, and I also think this Cowboys defensive line poses matchup issues for the Steelers, especially if the Steelers can't run it. Next game, we got the New York Giants at the Seattle Seahawks. Over, under 43.5. I'm going over. I get the science. Fade Daniel Jones. I think this McDonald defense is a work in progress, but let's not judge them by Detroit. But, man, I also feel like both of these offenses are progressing, and I got to say, I don't want to be too early on it, but I feel like Geno Smith's, remember Geno's first year as starter when they traded Russell Wilson, how well he played when he came in. He was tactical. He was great in the red zone. That's why I'm going over. I think this Giants secondary is trash. Like, I do worry about the Hawks offensive line, but actually I'm going to make it a borderline money pick to go over the 43.5 here. I'm loving what Geno's doing, and I'm also loving what Dayball is doing from an offensive schematic perspective. Now, question, is Malik Neighbors going to be in this game? That's what it relies on for me. Giants need Malik Neighbors for this to be a borderline money pick. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. The best gambling show on the internet. Thank you guys. Absolutely love you guys. Hope everyone has a good week. Over, under, total bros. Let's go.